Have you considered everything that you can do with one can of chickpeas? I think it'll make you change the way you think about lunch. So let me show you how. Now this video is the first part of 2 parts. There's just too many things that you could do with chickpeas and lunch, so I'm going to be doing an extra video this week. It's going to be part 2 of the chickpea lunch series, so make sure you check that out. But for this first part, it's going to be a little elevated, so we're going to be making our own super quick, super easy pita. All it is just 1 cup of warm water, a package of active dry yeast, about a teaspoon of sugar, and then you're going to mix it up a little bit, and then a half of a cup of all-purpose flour, and then we're just going to whisk that in really lightly. We're just kind of creating like a sponge. Then we just need to cover that up and let it sit for about 15 minutes. This pita is really easy. It's almost all waiting time. And then that's it. Now you have your sponge. No gluten's formed at this point. Now we're just going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil, about 2.5 extra cups of flour. If you have bread flour, you can use that. That's going to work really well too. And then we're going to be using about a teaspoon of nutritional yeast. As we've learned, nutritional yeast is a nice dough relaxer. This is actually going to help make it a little extra fluffy and soft. And then we just need an extra big pinch or 2 of salt. It's going to be about a teaspoon at least. Then we just need to mix this up. I'm going to work it by hand together, and then we're going to pour it out onto our work surface and just give it a really light knead. I don't like kneading, so I'm going to do the bare minimum kneading, and you should too. Once we have it formed into like a dough ball, then we're just going to toss a little bit of olive oil in our bowl, throw our dough ball in, and you can even just make sure that it's coated in a little bit of olive oil so that way it doesn't stick. Then we're just going to cover it up, toss it into a warm place, and let it sit for about an hour. And that's it. It's barely any work at all. Now for the star of the show. Now it's time to mess with our chickpeas. Now we're going to be making kind of like a falafel seitan. I'm going to call it fileton. I think that's pretty good. So what we want to do is just drain our chickpeas and save that liquid. That liquid's called aquafaba. It's really useful. I've talked about it a lot on the channel if you haven't watched before. And then we need about 1/4 of a medium red onion that we're just going to chop up, along with about 4 cloves of garlic, 1/4 cup of that aquafaba liquid, a teaspoon of white vinegar, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and about 1/4 cup or a little less of fresh parsley, a little bit of cumin, black pepper, and then some salt. And then we just need to pulse that really quickly just to kind of chop and mix. Now, once we have this all blended up and you don't have like whole pieces of chickpea, then we're going to add the thing that's going to hold this together, which is gluten flour. And gluten flour is pretty much just pure protein. So the amount of protein along with the chickpeas, this is a pretty protein-packed lunch. So we're going to be adding about a half a cup of gluten flour. I wish I would have added 3/4 of a cup. I think that would have made a bigger difference here. Now, all we need to do is just blend this together until we start to have kind of like a dough ball. Then we're just going to form it together into like a little chickpea mound. Again, I hate kneading. And then toss that back into the mixer or any sort of like bowl, and then cover it up. Let it rest. It's going to rest just as long as the pita. All of this can be made ahead of time, resting till whenever you want to make it, which is a perfect time for today's sponsor.
Green Chef's a CCOF certified organic company with options for every kind of lifestyle, including keto and paleo, vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, and gluten-free. Green Chef makes cooking easy, so you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying delicious home-cooked meals. And their expert chefs curate every recipe, so you can enjoy nutritious, restaurant-quality dishes at home without compromising on taste. And Green Chef's vegan and vegetarian recipes are full of plant-based proteins and wholesome sides. And you can customize your weekly order to satisfy everyone's cravings by mixing and matching meals from different dietary preferences. And I love cooking with Green Chef. They make everything so easy and the food is always so good. I mean, Green Chef nails it every single time. So gang, use my code Saucestache135 to get $135 off across 5 boxes, plus free shipping on your first box. Head over to greenchef.com for more details. That's code Saucestache135 gets you $135 off across 5 boxes, plus free shipping on your first box. Green Chef, thanks for always being a great sponsor and providing me with really great meals. I'm making a mess. This is so good.
So for our chickpea lunch, you were probably wondering what we were going to do with that aquafaba. It's time. We're going to be making a simple garlic dressing. It's going to be really good. The base of it's just going to be about 1/4 cup of aquafaba, 3 cloves of garlic, and about 1/4 cup of olive oil. Now, I'm using an immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, you're not going to pour the garlic in. You're just going to drizzle it in. Now, at this point, we're just going to start blending, and it should emulsify together pretty quick. Now, this is a little bit thicker than like a cream, but not as thick as mayo. So now we're just going to add a pinch of salt, a little bit of smoked paprika, and some black pepper, and then just stir it up. you have a really lightly flavored dressing for this sandwich, or really whatever else you want to use it on. So now everything's kind of wrapping up. It's time to make the sandwich. So let's get this puffed up pita dough ready for pita. So we're just going to cut it into 8 little squares. That's going to be our pita, and then just round them out. And then once we round them out, I'm just going to cover them with a little bit more olive oil. I'm just going to use a brush to just brush on a light amount. Then we just need to cover them up and move on to getting everything else ready. Then let's get a pan over a medium-low heat with a little bit of oil. I'm going to be using just some avocado oil for this. Then we're going to pull our chickpea dough apart into small little chunks, and I'm just going to kind of like press them and then toss them in. Now all we're going to do is just let these toast up on both sides, just kind of like turning and stirring like as they go. Now these are pretty soft. They're not like the texture of chicken. They're going to be a little denser than a falafel, so you do want to be kind of gentle with them. Now I'm just going to throw a cover on them and move over to our pita. Now we're just going to make these pita one at a time. It's real easy. Just pull them out, roll them out flat, have a cast iron pan preheated over about a medium heat or so, a little bit of olive oil in the pan, and then just toss them in. Now this is sped up a hair, but you'll see this bubble up at the top, and the top will start to kind of dry. That's when you know that it's about ready. Now when you go to feel this, you'll see that it does not stick at all. Then just quickly check and see if you have the nice toasted bottom. If so, flip it over, let it toast on the second side, get those bubbles nice and toasted. Then you're going to flip it one last time, and then that's it. All in all, it takes about 3 minutes total, about a minute per side. And for like some fresh bread for lunch, that's pretty awesome. Okay, once our filleted nuggets are done, I'm just going to toss them into a bowl lined with a little bit of paper towel just to kind of soak up any excess oil that might be on there. And then we're just going to move on to the second batch, but really at this point, we could start putting together our sandwich. All we need is our stack of pita bread. Now I'm going to be using like a foil wrapper. You don't have to do that. And then we're just going to coat this in our dressing, a pretty hefty amount. Then just top it with a decent amount of your falatin. You know, don't go light on it. This stuff's it's good, it's filling, but you want a decent amount. Now you can top the sandwich however you want. I mean, I'm going to do some onions, a little bit of shredded lettuce, maybe some fresh tomatoes, and you know, a few slices of pickles and a little bit more of that dressing. I mean, quite a bit more of that dressing. And then this is it. This is our lunch, primarily made from chickpeas. So now let's just see what Monica has to say.
I love this.
Really good, right?
Yeah, this is really good. It's got a great flavor. I love this little thing in here. It's got a nice bite.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, it kind of tastes like seitan, but more softer version.
Okay. Yeah.
And the flavor's a little falafel-y.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it tastes really good in this pita with the vegetables. Like, it's got a really good flavor.
Yeah, the pita is on point. What do you think about the sauce?
No, I love the sauce. Like, it's really good.
So the sauce is super garlicky.
Yeah, it's really garlicky.
Do you think this was a good lunch from a can of chickpeas?
Oh my god. Yes, this is amazing.
Boom.
Boom.
Oh, great. I love these pitas.
This is really good.